I can't do it. Okay. We'll do it live.
Okay.
Do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
LegacyMaker, the All Sports Network, presents a SIRTOBA media production where the struggle is real to be awesome.
5, 4, 3, 2.
The wait is over.
Let's get this thing started.
Get your popcorn ready. It's time for the In or Out sports debate with your hosts, Robb Johnson and Drew Willingham.
Hello, everyone. We are live for episode 83 of the In or Out sports debate. I am your host, Drew Willingham, along with this week's very special returning panelist, one of the OGs. But I can't give him enough justice if I don't give him this special intro right here. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we must welcome back the original panelists from this show, the In or Out Sports Debate. I may be the creator of this production, but the show would not be what it is today without the contributions from this individual. Along with myself and others, this man is one of the cornerstones of the network known as LegacyMaker Sports. The owner of an 11-episode appearance streak within the vault of this show's history that may never be broken. Returning for the first time in episodes, the man, the myth, and the legend among sports journalists. Please join me in welcoming back Mr. Robb Johnson. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, welcome back, Mr. Robb Johnson. Welcome back to the show there, brother.
Hey, how you doing tonight, sir? How's everything going?
Man, I'm doing great. Sorry that you are battling a cold or whatnot. My man has been struggling ever since he got up in the green room. So much kudos to Robb for battling it through and making it here for episode 83 of a show that you and I started together, as we said in that intro there. So we've got some great topics that we've got to get through tonight. But as always, before we get started, we have to acknowledge the Vault of Fame.
Acknowledge me.
Man, you took me back. This is why this show was so important, and this is why I am personally validating and vouching for this show. If you are anybody in media, sports, professional wrestling, anything, you need to be on In or Out Sports Debate with my man Drew Willingham, because this has got to be one of the most fun things I've ever done in a long time.
Ladies and gentlemen, that there is the In or Out Sports Debate Vault of Fame, which you can find here on the LegacyMaker Sports Network on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, and the new TikTok channel as well. And the latest and great sports coverage at LegacyMakerSports.com. You also find the In or Out Sports Debate on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and Twitch, as well as the audio platforms on the Apple and Google Podcast, Spotify, Amazon Prime, Anchor.fm, and you can download these episodes individually on iTunes. SIRTOBA Media, the video production umbrella behind this production right here. You can find it on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and the YouTube channel that's coming soon. I mother, father, and promise it is coming soon. I've been saying it's coming soon for a while. It is coming soon, Robb. I promise, where the struggle is real. To be awesome, you can find at SIRTOBA.com. And if you want to check me out individually, you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter currently, and as well as SIRTOBA.com, as well as the LegacyMakerSports.com. Episode 83, we are in here in this moment with the man, the myth, and the legend, Robb Johnson, ready to rock and roll as we've got great slate of topics for you guys this evening. And we're going to take it into some baseball to start it off here for the first round. Rob, let's go ahead and take this unit into round one.
Round one.
And here with round one, Rob Manfred is the worst commissioner in MLB history, let alone in all of sports. How do you feel about this one, Rob? Do you agree with the statement at hand? Are you in or are you out on this one?
I was going to change my mind, but for different reasons, I'm going to say in. All right, the reason I say in is everyone has to realize that in baseball, for example, from 1901 to 2014, there were, I believe it was 10 rule changes. It was 9 rule changes that went into baseball. Since 2015, we've had 10 rule changes. Now, we've had some exciting World Series. We did have a scandal with the Astros, but we've had some exciting World Series. I think that Rob Manfred's doing a decent job. I think he could do better as far as the marketing because he has some really good stars in this game. I think he could do a better job of getting some of the smaller markets into the game because you're seeing these huge contracts. You're seeing the same teams every single year. But the thing that stuck out to me the most had to be his comments from 2022. When asked about the minor league players and what could be done better, mind you, I believe the minor league players got a little bit of a bump or a little bit of a situation where they got better pay in 2001. I'll read this to you guys really quick. This was Rob Manfred's his statement about the minor league players. Mm-hmm. I kind of reject the premise of the question of the minor league players. They are not paid a living wage, he responded. We've made real strides in the past few years in terms of what minor league players are paid, even putting to one side the signing bonuses that many of them have already received. They receive housing, which obviously is another form of compensation. I just reject the premise of the question. I do not know what else to say about that. And I'll say this. So in 2001, MLB raised salaries for minor leaguers, bumping Class A pay from $200. Mind you, Drew, listen to this: $290 to $500 per week. Double A, $350 to $600. Triple A from $502 to $700 over the roughly a 5-month period. But sports agents pretty much say this laughable. And I think it is too, because a lot of people have to understand this, and that pay obviously has changed a little bit here and there in the last 20 years. But what people have to understand is that without minor league baseball, there is no baseball, because baseball is fundamental. Excuse me. Baseball is fundamentally one of the hardest sports to play outside of golf and hard to get into like basketball. There's a reason. You understand what I'm saying? So I believe that for him to make that statement, it's ridiculous. You have to treat your minor league players better than that, because if you don't have a system. And if you don't have a system, then baseball is already struggling with ratings. Yes, they're throwing out record money. But if you don't have that system in place, you won't have a future in baseball. And Rob Manfred has to understand that and stop being so tone deaf.
No, you're absolutely right. To an extent, social media has kind of exposed Rob Manfred on more of a different level than Bud Selig ever was. And before Rob Manfred, you could arguably say that Bud Selig was the worst one of all time. But because of a lot of the stuff that you just said, that kind of stuff I was going to reiterate here in a second, I have to agree with you, Rob. I'm in on this as well. When you put into perspective, every single thing that Rob just said, and you think about, what we were talking about when we first started this show. It's been almost 3 years since we started this show in June of 2020, when we started the first 4 episodes of the In or Out Sports Debate. And one of the discussions that we were talking about was the fact that the MLB players typically might have had a chance to been taking 30% of what their annual salary was for that year because of everything going on with the pandemic, and with how he handled the pandemic, and the fact that within a short period of time, I remember that one case where the Marlins players and the Marlins staff, there was 20 some different people within the Marlins organization, 13 players were involved, coaches, people within the front office. They all had COVID during the part of when everything was, the outbreak was going on. It was April, May, and they were having these practice sessions or workout sessions or whatever. I just stumbled upon the article the other day. Everybody check that out when you get a chance. when you think about the fact of how loose baseball was at the beginning of the pandemic and how there wasn't really much restrictions on things, like football had a better restrictions on their craft of their sport than Manfred had put in place for MLB. You had people getting COVID left and right, and they weren't even playing games yet. It was during lockdown. So when you think about how he's handled this league since he came into office in 2013, 2014, it's been like 9-10 years he's been there. It hadn't been quite a decade yet. But when you think about the man's stain that he's had in the game, Rob, I know you 100% agree with me, and that's why I have to back you up on this. He's put a stain on his mother, father, and league.
I totally agree. And then the way the whole Astros thing was handled, even though I think a lot of teams out there, and I've been on record saying this, that a lot of teams made excuses when it came to the Astros, especially teams like the Yankees. It's like, just be honest, you just can't beat them. You're not better than them. So be honest with yourself. Yeah, there was some controversy about it, but that situation could have been handled better. I believe that, him coming from a lawyer background, I just think baseball has to come into the new century, and their next commissioner needs to be somebody that does things so much better. Like I said, I see what they're doing with the music and all that, but that, as we talk about the music, certain leagues trying to implement music to try to get a certain audience, it's not going to work with baseball. I have so many suggestions that could make baseball better, but that will come at a later time. But he just has to do a better job. And I think that, and I never want to down any man or woman on the job they're doing, but he just has to do better, because baseball has so many stars. They have so many marquee teams. There's no way. Think about it, Drew. You had a guy break the home run record last year in the AL. It was great, but was it as big? But did it seem as grand and as Bonds or Mark McGwire or Sammy Sosa? No, it just seemed like, yeah, he broke a record. We know what he's going to do in the postseason. So it's like, I just don't see the marketing. The marketing is horrible. And when you have Mike Trout in his prime, what did you do with him? You got Bryce Harper in his prime, who people know I've been critical of him, but I said he's a great player. What have you done with him? It's ridiculous.
I think the balance between the two is what you're saying, the marketing. I feel like the balance of marketing back in the day, there was a lot more hype and stuff within the media of what like McGwire, Sosa, and Bonds were doing back in the day over what Judge did, because we kind of have it balanced out now where we have social media, where social media wasn't around back when all that was going on. And with what they are lacking in the media of coverage, the rest of us, and there's other people out there who don't even work in the media who are still covering it and posting it out there to where still everybody knew it was going on. Like,
let's be honest,
getting out there probably more than what happened back in the day. The reach was more, but it didn't have the right feel behind it. I'm with you on that.
Yeah. And let's be honest, if anybody goes back to the 90s, early 2000s, Sports Center used to be filled with baseball. Mm-hmm. Sports Center used to break it down. You used to have Baseball Tonight on ESPN. They've basically just taken baseball and just thrown it to the side. But the crazy thing is, the salaries keep getting bigger. They don't get the ratings, but football does. But the football players suffer because they don't get the money. But the baseball players do, but they don't get the ratings. So, I can't really say he's been too horrible, because the players are getting paid. So there's a double-edged sword to it. It's in a screwed up way. It's kind of,
I feel like that maybe part of that may have to do with MLB having their own network and the Diamond Sports Network's deal within the media rights of that. I feel like there might be some conflicts in there, because Joey and I were just talking about that a couple of episodes ago. And with me talking about that with him, I'm thinking, well, maybe the way the contract structures within that, it kind of prevents ESPN for doing certain things and having but so much coverage. So maybe there's why they don't have as much coverage as they once did, because all this contract stuff with Diamond Sports Network wasn't really prevalent until within the past decade.
Yeah, and you got to look at television in the next 10 years. We have to be realistic. If television isn't the same in 10 years, is any network really going to pick up baseball, or are they just going to have to go through the internet, So just like it will be a football through Amazon, there might come a time, Drew, where all football is on cable or pay-per-view. Hate to say it, but not pay-per-view, but you got to pay for it. ESPN Plus, crap like that. So, it's one of those things.
Rob and I both agree with the fact that Rob Manfred is the worst commissioner in MLB history, let alone in all of sports in the current moment, even worse than Roger Goodell and other ones that we could put in the conversation with him. Let us know in the comments, fans, what you think, if you agree or disagree. If you are out and disagree with us, let us know in the comments. Other than that, before we go to the next round, I have a side question with that. If you were to pick an actual athlete, former athlete within baseball that's retired, who would be your best pick if you were to suggest an actual former athlete to take the office of commissioner?
Well, that's easy. Ken Griffey Jr. Ken Griffey Jr. is an ambassador. Ken Griffey is an ambassador to the game. He's never been in any type of scandal. He made people want to come and watch baseball. Certain people only play Nintendo baseball games because of Ken Griffey Jr.
Yeah.
Ken Griffey Jr. would, if that happened, I can guarantee you baseball would live again.
I was thinking Derek Jeter because of his business mentality and with what he's done. I mean, he hasn't really led a successful organization within Miami Marlins, but the fact of what he kind of had, Ken Griffey Jr. had an impact on baseball during the 90s, but Derek Jeter had an impact on baseball for 2 decades.
After the Marlins fiasco, I can't give him that yet.
Yeah,
he did okay with Miami. Don't get me wrong, but Derek but people have to remember, and I know this is gonna sound bad. I'm a Derek Jeter fan, but he has some great players around him. He made the flip in Anaheim. He had some of the great hits in World Series history, some of the postseason hits, but he had a great team around him. Ken Griffey in Seattle, besides Randy Johnson, he was Seattle. But Derek Jeter was New York as well. But you gotta look at the other guys: Bernie Williams, Ronald, Rivera. He had some iconic names. Ken Griffey pretty much made Seattle.
No, I like that. Yeah, that's why when you said that, I immediately changed my mind. I just had to say Griffey at that point too. Griffey, Jeter, or any other players, fans, a little side topic there for you. Let us know in the comments. We'll acknowledge it here in the midway point to the end of the show. But with that being said, let's go ahead and take it into round 2 and see what we got in store for that one.
Round 2.
And here for round 2. Bryce Young is not the best quarterback in this year's 2023 NFL Draft. How do you feel about this one, Rob? Do you agree with the statement in hand? Are you in or are you out on this one?
I am out on this. See, when you have 80 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, plus when you look at this past season, he didn't have the greatest weapons. So and 32 touchdowns, only 5 interceptions. And you think about playing the SEC, and you think about the teams he played in the close games. If it hadn't been for Bryce Young, that team would have lost at least maybe 3, 4, maybe even 5 games. You look at some of the other quarterbacks, C.J. Stroud. You look at his weapons. C.J. Stroud has always had good weapons at Ohio State. You look at Ohio State historically, not the best place for quarterbacks. You look at Will Levis, 19 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. Those stats are deceiving because Will Levis didn't have the weapons he had the year before or before then. You look at the quarterback Richardson from Florida. Not the best numbers, but he's developmental. He'll get there. But overall, the best quarterback is Bryce Young. My fear, though, if you remember, Drew, if you go back to the 2017 draft, it only takes one to make a stupid decision. And my worry is that the Houston Texans or because I saw some Indianapolis Colts fans talk about, we don't want Bryce Young. He's 6 feet, 194, blah, blah, blah. Well, Drew, I'll be honest. I think he is the best quarterback. And I think that with his height and his weight, that I actually think that he's going to drop. And it could be a situation where it could be like a Patrick Mahomes, where he falls into a great situation. Meaning this, if he somehow falls to Seattle, that's going to be devastating to the NFC West. If the Colts and Texans screw up and don't make the right decision, and they go off just what the experts are thinking, or the numbers, or the height or the weight, Bryce Young not only Drew, I watched this guy going back to California. I remember I put a post up in 2019. I said, this guy is next. And it's not, and that's the thing. He's not a runner. He doesn't run. I mean, he can run like Mahomes. Mahomes didn't run that much at Texas Tech. But I mean, he could, but he's got an arm. He's got that. He's got that feeling of Mahomes, and I just hope that the Texans or the Indianapolis Colts do not pass up on this guy. Drew, I personally think if the Texans draft him, this is such a deep draft. I think the Texans could be back in the AFC South race next year. That's how much I think of this young man. But those other quarterbacks aren't bad either. They're just not Bryce Young. And you look at his career at Alabama, he's probably one of the most dynamic quarterbacks they've ever seen at that school. Not only best players, but best leaders. And that's a quality that I gave Patrick Mahomes coming out of college as well.
Yeah, I mean, with everything said right there, I mean, with everything that Bryce Young proved that he is capable of doing, I have to disagree with the statement. I'm out as well. You know, Robb brought the stats out there with everything that this kid did in his college career. You know, it's tough to say that if the Chicago Bears do not trade out of their pick and somebody else move up to the one to get him, he's probably going to go number 2 to the Houston Texans, that I would have to say. There's a very good chance that he's going to the Houston Texans. But there's also reports that the Bears trading their pick, and before this past report that just came out, Jalen Carter was slated to go number 1, potentially to the Bears. And then the Bears talking about trading their pick. And then whoever moves up there could potentially go outside of that to a quarterback pick. And now with what's happened with this arrest, with this arrest, the news just came out today. Who knows? Bryce Young could now be the number 1 overall pick in this year's NFL draft.
Can I say something real quick? Really quick? I hate to interrupt you, but going to the Jalen Carter thing, 2 misdemeanors, he's facing 12 months in prison and $1,000 to $2,000 fine. From my experience covering court, he's probably going to get probation, but that's still going to hurt him.
Oh, absolutely. And when you think about that, the fact that you are the number 1 overall pick, prospect, because that has been on so many different boards, whether it's Mel Kiper's or you think about his or Daniel Jeremiah or Bucky Brooks or any of the big ones that are doing the drafts out there or whatnot. They all have this man as the number 1 overall pick. Even in some of them, some other ones that have the Bears trading that pick away, they still have Jalen Carter getting picked up as the 1st overall pick, Robb. So when I think about this overall situation between what just happened within the last 24 hours of this indictment being pretty much served for his arrest, over some false statements, it's like the story keeps changing with what happened in that accident. He was at the scene, now he's part of the situation, part of the investigation, and now he has an indictment. This kid just might have just screwed up his career, or at least he'll probably still get drafted, but he just screwed himself out of some millions of dollars that now Bryce Young can get. That's why I can't say he's the worst quarterback. Now, time will tell if Bryce Young is actually as good as what he's slated to be, because we've seen other reports before of other quarterbacks being rated higher than like the likes of Mahomes, who went later in the draft, and we saw what happened with him. We saw what happened with Mr. Irrelevant this past season with San Francisco. You could argue that part of that was the nucleus of what that team was about, and he just kind of got the keys to the Cadillac, but happened to play very smart and keep it going. But he could go somewhere else and get exposed. Think of Nick Foles. Nick Foles is backup quarterback, got the keys to the Philadelphia Eagles and won the Super Bowl. Okay. And now he's been to other teams ever since and has been a relegated 2nd string to 3rd string quarterback ever since that Super Bowl MVP. Not saying that that's what, Brock Purdy's situation is going to be, but, we might have seen the peak of his career in the NFC Championship. I hope not, because I like that kid, but we'll definitely see what comes about. But when it comes to Bryce Young, and with what he's done on tape and what we've seen in this year's draft, I feel like he is the top talent as far as quarterbacks goes. And I can't argue with Robb on that. There's probably going to be some topics here in a few minutes we're going to argue about, but it's not going to be this one, I can at least say, with this situation right here.
Let me say this. Here's the thing. The Bears were at $116 million, Drew, for their cap space. They're now at $98 million. A lot of people have argued with me over the past in the offseason. They said, well, if you trade Justin Fields, you're bringing Bryce Young into a situation where he doesn't have any offensive line help. Well, that's not true. If you have this much money, you look at what the Cincinnati Bengals did when they helped Joe Burrow's line and got his line immensely better. What team, Drew, do you think right now Okay, I'm not even going to say that. But there's a team right now in the New York Jets who, if they traded for Justin Fields, how much more dynamic do you think that team is, in your opinion? How much more dynamic are the New York Jets right away?
With Aaron Rodgers or with Bryce Young?
No. If the Jets, because there have been reports, and I've also put this on post as well, there have been reports that the Bears GM, because there's a new GM in Chicago, etc., there's a new regime. They're not all the way in love with Justin Fields. So there's a possibility that you can trade Justin Fields to the Jets, get a bunch of picks, take over the number 1 pick, and draft Bryce Young to Chicago, bring in weapons, get a good offensive line, and they have, in my opinion, the more stable quarterback. But I believe the Jets need that dynamic quarterback to make plays, because sometimes they get off script. And Zach Wilson isn't the athlete that Justin Fields is. Let me also say this really quick. Do you know who benefits from this Jalen Carter situation? One team. And I'm going to tell everybody this right now. And if this happens, Drew, that team is going to really – if Jalen Carter falls, he's going to fall to the Eagles, and they're going to draft him. And he is going to be dominant as hell in Philadelphia. This actually could help Jalen Carter. Remember, the Eagles have a top 10, 11 pick. If he goes to Philly and he's motivated, man, I tell you. So, Drew, there's a lot of intriguing things in this draft right now, especially with that Jalen Carter situation, as you mentioned. He could fall to somebody, a really good football team, and rise up. But that's just my outlook right now on the draft when it comes to those different situations.
Fans, remember this day, March 1st, 2023. Robb Johnson with the bold prediction that Jalen Carter could be going to Philly and could be a force to be reckoned with for some time. Mark this mother, father, and date of March the 1st, because this could be some special news that we will have clipped out in the moment this happens. It's going live. So, but guys, we've definitely gone through 2 rounds so far on this show. And before we go any further, we have some breaking news we have to announce. And that breaking news is this. This Sunday, 9:05 p.m. Eastern Time, the man, the myth, and the legend, Mr. Rollback, formerly for Walmart Supercenters, and our main man here at the LegacyMaker Sports Network. Give it up for Darrell Owens. Comes on back for the 5th time, currently a 4-time Vault of Fame inductee, is back this Sunday, March 5th, 9:05 p.m. Eastern for episode 84 to represent his birth year here on the In or Out Sports Debate. Guys, we have gone through 2 great rounds so far on this show. We're going to go ahead and take a commercial break. Before we go any further, we'll see you back in about 90 seconds. This episode of the In or Out Sports Debate is brought to you by Peanut Butter and Jealous. When you're feeling a little blue based on what others are doing around you, spread a little peanut butter and jealous on your sandwich to make yourself feel whole again. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back for episode 83 The In or Out Sports Debate. My man Robb Johnson is back. As we now have another round to take this into. Let's go ahead and see what we got in store for round 3.
Round 3.
And here with round 3, the 2020-22. Wow, so that messed up. Let's try that again. The 2022-2023 VCU Rams men's basketball team looks poised for an epic March Madness run this season. How do you feel about this one, Robb? Do you agree with this? Are you in or are you out on this one?
For context reasons only. Context reasons only. I'm out. Folks, history is the premise for which is your outline. It's the premise for the outline of life. History is the premise of the outline of life. VCU has won the A-10 tournament one time. I believe they got an A-10 maybe about 2009, 2008, something like that. If I'm wrong, please fix. You can correct that. They've won the regular season 3 times, including this past year. They won the regular season in 2015. I'm sorry, they won the actual tournament in 2015. They won in 2015, 2016, the actual in-season, 2018, 2019 regular season, and 2022, 23 regular season. This is my problem, folks. You have losses to Jacksonville and you have losses to St. Bonaventure. It is well known that right now Fordham is the second team in the A-10, and they're not a very good team. VCU, they're going to have to play the likes of Dayton. They're going to play a George Mason team, which I said is on fire right now when it looks like they're going to be playing better basketball going to the tournament. They blew Richmond out last week. But if you really watch the game, folks, if you really analyze the game, they're better than Richmond. I said they were better than Richmond in the press conference. However, Richmond had some opportunities to stay in that basketball game. VCU has been very inconsistent. When you're a team in VCU, when you're going up against teams like North Carolina and Kentucky, who do you guys really think the committee is going to put in for shock value, for television ratings? VCU, North Carolina, or Kentucky? So, and those teams are playing better as of late. If VCU can somehow get into the tournament, Deloach, Ace Baldwin, Johns, they have the players to do it. But Drew, they have to prove that they can win an A-10 tournament, and that's the biggest thing about this question. Could they make strides in the A-10 tournament and the NCAA tournament? Yes. The problem is they have to get there first. And since 2015, they have not proven to us that they can win an A-10 tournament.
Yeah, I mean, with you going on the historical aspect of it, it's tough to argue it. But for the sake of debate and for the sake of their run this year, I'm going to disagree. I am in. I mean, Robb was putting a lot of great points out there to make you think at the same time that they have a chance of winning it. Now, of course, bring up the historical value and, the fact that those players are gone now, the ones that were on those mighty epic fail of the teams that we had high hopes for. It's been a while since that March Madness run that they had back in 2011, I believe, when Eric Maynor was on the team, and they made it to like the Final Four that year. That nobody saw them going that far. But when you think about what this one player, and I'll keep this one player in mind, and I've only watched him on TV. I've unfortunately not had a chance to go see a live game this year, but I will hopefully have that changing at some point soon when I start doing some baseball and get back into this thing. I'm doing a lot more podcasting, but I've been watching the games on TV and have been watching the highlights. And for what I'm seeing, Ace Baldwin is a stud. Like, he has filled that void from what they've been missing since Bones Highland left. And with what this team looks like, not just on paper. I mean, on paper, Robb, they are 23-7, 14-3 in the conference. You talk about Dayton and these other teams they got to face. VCU's on a 5-game winning streak, a 5-game mother-fathering winning streak.
What?
I said a 5-game winning streak.
What?
A 5-game mother-fathering winning streak.
What?
When you think about the fact the way this team is playing, They are doing some damage out here in these streets, and it is not over yet with what you have. Look, they have got one more regular season game, and that's against G-Dubs this Saturday at 4:30 at G-Dubs home. So when you think about the fact that they could potentially close this season out on a winning streak, it would be huge going into the playoffs. But at the same time, maybe having a loss and humbling them might actually help them in their playoff run. Who knows? I'm not wishing any ill will towards them. I want them to win, and I would love to see them win it out and become the March Madness champions for one time. But I do feel like they are poised to have a great run, because if they at least get to the Sweet 16, to me, that's still an epic run compared to where they've been at the past few seasons. The scrutiny that Mike Rhodes has been under. Rob Johnson, you have been one that has said that when it comes to Mike Rhodes, the way that things have transpired over the past years, he could technically be in the hot seat this season. And for what has transpired during this season, I would say he has made it away from that hot seat.
Well, I'll say that because he has the players now. I mean, if you get the players and you recruit well and you have to make some tough decisions, like when they got rid of some of their players from last year, yeah, you'll be able to be a better coach, but they have to continue to make those decisions. I believe that he's still – the thing about Rhodes is in VCU, you want that pressure because you want to beat GW. You want to go into the A-10 tournament and win the thing. You don't want to go into the A-10 tournament, win a few games, get to the final, lose by a couple of points, and you don't get in the NCAA tournament. That's not on Mike Rhodes. That's on the committee not understanding basketball, because college basketball is wide open this year. And to your point, like I said, if they can win the A-10 and be consistent, they should be able to make some noise. And they did beat a Pittsburgh team who is top 3 in the ACC, top 3, top 4 in the ACC. They barely lost to an Arizona State team. Now, they did get beat pretty well by Memphis, but Memphis is has been playing teams like Houston and some pretty good teams all year. So I definitely think that VCU, if they can get into the tournament, can make some noise because nobody's scared of really anybody in the NCAA basketball tournament this year.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how this pans out over the course of the next couple weeks. We are now in the month of March. We are now in March Madness, baby. Let's see what happens as the rest of this month of March goes on. Fans, let us know in the comments how you feel about that, and we will actually acknowledge them right now. It is that time of the show where, Rob, we got to acknowledge the comments from the fans. One of my favorite points of the show, where we acknowledge the comments from the fans. Thank you guys for being part of the show and being interactive with us. Our guy, Ike Doesn't Give a Fuck, is in the building. He is back. Ike is back with his awesome last name, says, "What's up, fellas?" 83 with an exclamation mark says, "Ike." Rob is back, says, "Doesn't give a fuck." Thank you, Ike, for mentioning everything stated above. Yo, says Stephen Fenton. Well, thank you for coming back on there. Stephen's been a while since we've seen you there, brother. What up, Drew? And what up, Rob? Says Mickey Delaney from Facebook. Thank you, Mick, for being here and for the comments as well. Our man D.O. is here. Hey, fellas, he says. Well, what's up, Darrell? Thank you for being here and participating within the show. Hi, Darrell. Well, he's Mickey's hitting up Darrell. The new rule will help. I guess at the time frame that he posted this, we were talking about Rob Manfred. So you think the new pitch clock is going to help Rob Manfred out? What do you think, Rob?
I mean, it was time. Time will tell. I mean, baseball is. Time will tell. I'm not going to give anything definitive until I see it. I mean, if they can shorten the games, yeah, but yeah, I think that it'll help. Yeah.
Hopefully, Rob is not having a fire right now. I'm going to mute him for a second. Hopefully, everything gets back on track in a second. Based on the look on his face, it doesn't look like it is, so we'll keep him muted there momentarily while we go through the comments. I'd say Jeter says Ike doesn't give a fuck. Well, thank you, Ike, for agreeing with me on the comment. It'd be sweet if we can get the Siegel Center to do that. Let's see what Rob thinks.
I don't know. They kind of calmed down a little bit. I mean, they need some excitement. So hopefully when they build that 17,000 seat stadium, maybe we can get a VC Richmond game. And it could be like really full. But knowing this community, sometimes it might not be. So let's not go that route.
We'll see. Well, thank you for agreeing there, Ike. Steven says Cal Ripken Jr. When you think about the Cal Ripken Jr. Little League that he built and the business decisions he's made, what do you think about him potentially being commissioner?
I haven't seen Cal Ripken Jr. since 1982, so no, I don't know.
Damn!
That's just a joke, by the way. But no, Cal Ripken seems like he never comes out the house. When it's like it's I never really see Cal Ripken. It's like Wayne Gretzky. I never see these guys. Like Tony Hawk, I never see these guys. It's like they're hiding somewhere. So, but I see Ken Griffey. He's out there, everything like that. And King, when it comes to Cal Ripken, maybe he needs to go to the Orioles and do something with that because that needs fixing first. Please.
Yeah, and when Cal Ripken has come into public, he has definitely put the weight on. So he doesn't even look like him. That's probably why you don't even recognize him.
And don't you agree it should be called Cal Ripken Field by now? Like, what are we doing?
Oh, you're talking about Camden Yards?
Yeah. I mean, I get it, but it should be called Cal Ripken Field because without Cal Ripken, really, who are the Orioles? Just the bird.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I mean, Jim Palmer was a figure back before he came, and as well, when Cal Ripken got there, they won the World Series together in his second year there at the team. Well, his first year there at the team, he was Rookie of the Year. Yeah. Young is terrible, says Ike doesn't give a fuck. Well, when it comes to your opinion, Ike, this is what Primetime has to say about it.
Ain't nobody care. Who cares? Ain't nobody care.
And even Chucky is saying that your thoughts are this.
That's terrible.
You want to say terrible? I'll come back at you. Ike doesn't give a fuck with the terrible. Okay, so there you go there. Troll of the year of 2022 there, Ike. What Ike says, Stephen Fenton. Joseph Raymond is in the house. Tied with Robb now for 14-time Vault of Fame inductee. Says in or out, Wendy's chili slaps. Robb, got to. Are you in? Does it slap? Or are you out?
Never had it.
So Robb technically is out there.
But I'll try it. But I'll try it now.
Try it. Well, you're still out till you try it. But when you do try it, let us know. We'll come back to this topic on the next episode. Now that I have the floor, I'm going to say in because I love it. Some cheese and a little bit of Wendy's chili and a potato, and I'm telling you, it is fire, brother. So, yes, it does slap. Try it out. Now, the next comment that we have, Ike comes back with, I said what I said, Ike, as Steven said, what Ike? And Ike says, I said what I said. I disagree with Young being the best, and that's blasphemous. LegacyMaker Sports, looks like Dio is in the house, says Drew and Robb. What's up, guys? Appreciate you watching the episode here. VCU needs to step their game up big time in the A10 tourney, and that's exactly what Robb was talking about in his take with that, so we definitely agree with that. But my take is that they will actually be stepping up and making it happen. Robb is going to go historically and say no. I'm going to say yes, is where we disagree with round 3. VCU sucks, guys. Come on, says Ike doesn't give a fuck. Well, Chris Jericho says this to you, Ike.
Would you please shut the hell up?
And if you were my sideline reporter, Ike, I would have to hire Vince McMahon to come to you just to say this.
Yeah! Fire!
All right, enough of the shenanigans. Now we've got Stephen Phantom back, says, take that back, Ike. Well, I think Ike is going to take what you just said and come back at you like the Terminator.
I'll be back.
And our last comment, or our last 2 comments come from Joey before we go back to the next set of rounds. Laughing emojis, you're missing out, bro, says Joey when talking about the Wendy's chili.
I mean, I haven't been to Wendy's in a while, so I mean, I'll go. I heard, like I said, I heard But let me say something really quick. Wendy's, I'm protesting Wendy's right now because what the hell is a nug? Stop saying nug, and please, I'm serious, man. This is what's wrong with this generation of kids. Just say nuggets. Is it just that difficult to say nuggets? We have a 4-piece nugget or chicken nuggets. Stop saying nug. It is not a car. It is not a lug wrench. Stop it. Please. It is really bothering me. I will not eat at Wendy's if they stop saying nugs.
Yo, bro, hook me up with some nugs. This sounds like I'm going to downtown trying to get a bag of some stuff I'm not supposed to be getting talking about nugs. No. Get your chicken nuggets, not your nugs. Keep it out of the equation. And Joey says you're missing out, and I would have to agree you are missing out as well. At least VCU has a chance. My Hokies are hot trash because Joey is a fan of the Virginia Tech Hokies. He is an alumni of the Virginia Tech Hokies. So shout out to Joey and his expensive degree.
Yes.
So
very expensive.
We'll acknowledge the rest of the comments here at the end of the show, guys. Thank you for those. Keep them coming, and we will acknowledge them here at the end. We've got a few more rounds to get through before we wrap things up. Let's go ahead and take this into round 4 and see what we got in store for the By the Numbers segment.
Round 4.
And here with round 4, Wes Welker is the greatest athlete to ever wear the number 83 in all of sports history. Rob, how do you feel about this topic in hand? Do you agree with it? Are you in or are you out on this?
If you're asking me, does he have the toughest brain in the history of the world? Yes. But I'm out.
Do tell, my man. Do tell.
And I reference that because that man had so many concussions, it didn't make any sense. But in his career, 903 receptions, 9,924 yards, 50 touchdowns. Great numbers, but you played with Peyton Manning. You played with Peyton Manning and Peyton Manning basically all your career. And I get that, right? But here's the thing. And Peyton Manning passed the ball a lot. There's number 83. His quarterback, who is a Hall of Famer as well, did not play all the games all the time because he was always getting hurt. They had a running back who ran for over 12,000 yards and 60 touchdowns, dominated the ball. If it hadn't been for that running back, this player would have had a lot more receptions and yards. Let me give you those receptions and yards and touchdowns. 951, 48 more than Wes Welker. 13,190 yards, more, almost 3,000 yards more than Wes Welker. 3,000 plus yards more than Wes Welker. 87 touchdowns to 50 compared to Wes Welker. I'm talking about the great number 83, Andre Reed, whose stats would have been a lot better if Thurman Thomas was not in that backfield. Jim Kelly could have stayed healthy a lot more. Andre Reed is probably one of the more underrated wide. Andre Reed is the Patrick Ewing of the NFL. He didn't win a championship. They both played in the state of New York. Buffalo, Manhattan, etc. He never won a championship. Doesn't get the credit he deserves, but that guy was great. Andre Reed is the best 83. Now, honorable mention: Ted Hendricks had 26 interceptions as a linebacker. That, my friends, is special.
That is part of the reason why I disagree with Wes Welker as well, but disagree with you as well. I'm out. Rob Johnson giving it to the man, Andre Reed, who did not win the big one. Who did not win the big one on several different occasions. Had 4 straight times. 4 straight chances to get 4 Super Bowls, couldn't even get 1. When this man, Ted Hendricks, is a 4-time Super Bowl champion. Now, it is a different position. It is a linebacker. But with the stats that Rob even rattled off to where I didn't have to, talking about Ted Hendricks as a honorable mention, I give the leg up to Ted Hendricks because he has the 4 Super Bowl championships. And championships mean everything. You got to the final dance of the year. Not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 4 times. And he did it with 2 different teams. He did it with the Baltimore Colts and he did it with the Oakland Raiders. Now, think about the type of teams that he was on. He did have some legendary players with the Baltimore Colts, being Johnny Unitas, Earl Morrall, being in Oakland Raiders, being the fact that he had John Madden as a coach for one of the Super Bowls. Then he had, Jim Plunkett and some other standout talents around him like Marcus Allen. And you think about how he got there, doesn't matter. He still got there. He still got 4 total championships. And he had a little bit of a stint with the Green Bay Packers when they were okay, before they really went down the tubes. So when you think about the best to wear 83 and the fact that he did it as a linebacker too, I have to give it up for the man, the myth, and the legend known as Ted Hendricks.
Well, Andre Reed went to Cootstown.
What?
Andre Reed went to Cootstown. That was his college.
He did go to. He went to Cooperstown.
He went to Cootstown College.
Cootstown.
He went to Cootstown College. Kutztown. Cootstown. What the hell is a Cootstown? And and then his high school, Lewis E. Deirdre in Allentown, Pennsylvania. Let me tell you something, man. This is my problem, and I know this is going to reach out a little more. Plus, he was a 4th-round pick, pick number 86. This is my problem with today's world. We can't get mad at people for load managing because you know why? Coaches are encouraging it more for this one reason. We have devalued the regular season.
Yep.
Andre Reed is a great player. What he did in some of his regular seasons, what he did, like I said, when Jim Kelly was getting hurt, when Jim Kelly couldn't go because of an injury, etc. Again, with Thurman Thomas and everything he did. Don't get me wrong, Hendricks is a great player, but he has some really good teams around him. With the Baltimore Colts and the Raiders. The Raiders with Tatum and all those great players. He had some great players around him.
Yep.
I just think we have to be careful in not valuing the regular season, because guess what, guys? If you don't have a good regular season, guess what you can't do? You can't go to the playoffs.
No.
And I think with the art of gambling being more mainstream and just we have a bunch of I'm having to be careful how I say this. We have a bunch of guys now and women who talk sports who really don't need to be talking sports, from television to Facebook to Instagram. I mean, I'll take anybody on the Legacy team all day, every day. Outside of that, I really kind of question the industry. Now, all your guests, great guests. A lot of the guests I see out there, people, I question, because I think that we're more in the hot take business now. And I think that when we get in this hot take business, like championships, we have to value the regular season. So that's why I'm going to give it to Andre Reed. But like I said, Hendricks is very close.
You got to at least give it up to the man that he had 25 blocked field goals over that 15-year pro career. He was an 8-time Pro Bowler.
Let's be honest.
Andre Reed only made the Pro Bowl 7 times. Hendricks made it 8 times, and he was part of the 1970s All-Decade team and the 75th NFL anniversary.
Yeah.
Andre Reed didn't really get quite that far when at the decade. He didn't get a decade team or the 75th anniversary team. That's why I got to give the leg up to Hendricks.
Yeah, I feel you, but you have to have 2 factors. Question: in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, compared to now, were the kickers as athletic as they are now?
No.
Were the offensive lines as good then as they are now, as far as the guys with their power, nutrition? They were shooting steroids in the 70s. Don't say anything about that, but yeah. Now, here's the other factor about Hendricks. He was 6'7", almost 6'8". He better have been, especially in that era of non-athletic kickers and the way the game was played, he better have been blocking some kicks. So that's not his fault, but I'll give you this. The guy's a great player. Both are great players. I'll give Andre Reed I'll give Reed the advantage, but by just a little bit, because when I looked up Henry's stats and everything, I think I could have easily given it to him, but because Reed and all the dynamics, I believe that, like, again, if he didn't have Thurman Thomas running the ball, and if he had a better quarterback than Jim Kelly was a great quarterback, but he had his windfalls. Remember, he only had 237 career touchdown passes. Troy Aikman, sorry, but had more than that. And Troy Aikman was not that good of a quarterback. I mean, don't get me wrong, Troy Aikman was a pretty decent quarterback, good, but he had great teams around him. Jim Kelly had a decent team around him, but not great. So I believe he had a better quarterback. Now, see if Andre Reed had played with John Elway, what he would have done. So that's not against him, but I'm just saying the dynamics of the situation.
Hell, at 6'7", 6'8", he should have been a professional wrestler when he retired from football. With as tall as he was, he could have been pretty good. But speaking of which, let's go ahead and take a look at a promo for a weekly show that we have here on the LegacyMaker Sports Network.
LegacyMaker, the All Sports Network, presents a SIRTOBA media production where the struggle is real to be awesome.
What? I'm better than you. And you know it.
Ladies and gentlemen, that there is the Kayfabe Express, which you can find the first 4 episodes on the LegacyMaker Sports Network. Episode 4 just dropped last night with Ellis Pollard, a.k.a. Salvation, a local legend here in Richmond, Virginia. With that being said, before we get to the latter part of the show, guys, let's go ahead and take another commercial break before we get through the rest of this show. This episode of the In or Out Sports Debate is brought to you by Peanut Butter and Jealous. When you're feeling a little blue based on what others are doing around you, spread a little peanut butter and jealous on your sandwich to make yourself feel whole again. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back for episode 83 of the In or Out Sports Debate. Let's go ahead and take this into the next round, the bonus round for some professional wrestling. Let's see what we got in store for that. And Rob, with this bonus round right here, Cody Rhodes must defeat Roman Reigns at WrestleMania to validate his story. How do you feel about this topic at hand? Do you agree with it? Are you in or are you out on this one?
I'm out. Drew, let me ask you a quick question. What pay-per-view besides the Royal Rumble is most significant when it comes to crowning a world champion?
WrestleMania.
Not that. Another pay-per-view.
SummerSlam.
Nope. What's the other one that determines who gets that shot at the title?
Oh, Royal Rumble.
Not that one either.
Oh, Money in the Bank.
Money in the Bank. And let me ask you something, Drew. Has Money in the Bank been kind of down the past few years?
Yeah, it has been a little bit. I see where you're going with this.
Yeah. Okay, so check this out, guys. What is the one way that you take Money in the Bank and you make it spectacular? This is how you do it. You screw Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania. You bring back, because if you notice, Drew, when they start putting certain titles on the WWE website, like the Eagle title and certain other titles, they could bring those titles back. So I'm looking at them making one undisputed Universal Championship for Roman Reigns. The way that you do this, you have Cody Rhodes get screwed so bad, and I don't know what kind of epic way they could do it at WrestleMania, but screw him epically at WrestleMania. Have Cody win Money in the Bank and haunt Roman Reigns for months and months and months. And then all of a sudden he comes in and beats Roman Reigns for the title. That way you still keep Roman Reigns legitimate as not getting legitimately pinned, and it makes a shock value. Basically, Drew, the way I'm looking at this is the way Triple H can play this. This can almost be like a Sting against the NWO type situation. You understand what I'm saying? I think that they can make the shock value so big, so huge, that you're tuning into Raw every week. You're not only turning into Raw, you're turning to SmackDown every week, because you never know when Cody Rhodes is going to show up and is going to try to cash in on Roman Reigns. So
you think he does this at Money in the Bank, or he gets Money in the Bank like he was supposed to get last year?
I think he gets Money in the Bank. I think he gets the Money in the Bank, and I think that he torments Roman Reigns for over a year, almost a year, and then in Philadelphia for WrestleMania 40, right? I believe it's WrestleMania 40 in Philadelphia. You have Cody Rhodes win it there and just get the most epic. And mind you, here's the other caveat to that, Drew. Who's most synonymous with Philadelphia? Paul Heyman.
Yeah, okay. And WrestleMania 40 is going to be in Philly.
Yeah. So, yeah, if they really play this out the way they want to, and they do this right, this could be epic.
Yeah, I mean, I do like your take on how that kind of works out. But for the sake of debate and for the fact that you were out, I got to go in. That's not my main answer, but because I really want him to win at WrestleMania, the way that he was hyped up last year, the way he came back, he was number 30, even though it kind of made some people mad. Okay, some people didn't like the fact that he came back at 30, and was given the golden boy opportunity, as some people would say. But with what he did outside of WWE to booster himself up and propel himself up to where he was at Stardust in a mid-card, now he's kind of gone. He hasn't really reached the ceiling yet. So when you think about everything that's transpired with Cody Rhodes, I have to give him the fact that he needs to validate his story now at WrestleMania. The man's pushing 40. Roman Reigns looks like he needs some time off because he's a part-time wrestler anyway. Barely shows up. Can't even show up to do segments of just promos on a freaking SmackDown. Has to come every other week. And do you remember that time, Rob? Do you remember that time when he was talking all that smack about Brock Lesnar being a part-time champion? Look how hypocritical that is now with him being the leader of the Bloodline. Now, I love the Bloodline story. But
hold on,
you got to think about it in the perspective of what I just said.
Hold on. Let's be honest here. He shows up a lot more than Brock Lesnar does. He puts on a lot better matches than Brock Lesnar does. And you can say it's hypocritical, but I think that the most hypocritical wrestler of all time ain't Roman Reigns. It's John Cena. Because do you remember what he said about The Rock and everything like that? He's trying to go Hollywood and all this. Well, now John Cena is a struggling actor. Not struggling, because he's had some decent movies. Not great, but decent. But that's the most hypocritical of all time. I think that Roman Reigns, he's almost like a Hulk Hogan in a sense, because he doesn't have to show up every week, because his impact is so huge. It's like when he shows up, the crowd goes crazy. When he actually wrestles at some of these pay-per-views, he didn't have to wrestle Elimination Chamber. He could have said, screw it, I'm not doing it. But he showed up. He's going to wrestle Sami Zayn again for the WWE Universal Heavyweight Championship of the world. But, I don't know, man. I think that there's a way that they can somehow, some way Who knows? Maybe he can start his own stable with Randy Orton once again, man. Randy Orton, if he can come back and maybe he can help him out, or they can get somebody on his side and they can make some type of epic thing this year. I just think that if they can if Cody Rhodes gets screwed and he can win Money in the Bank, I just think that anticipation and just if it's written well, because here's the thing, this is on Triple H. We've heard so much about Vince McMahon, yada, yada, yada. This is your time, Triple H. Make it work. Because a lot of people are already criticizing some of the WrestleMania plans that are being put in place. I mean, so we'll see, Drew. We'll definitely see. But
some people think that Vince McMahon has his hand back in the cookie jar again.
Well, Drew, here's the thing. I don't think Vince ever took his hand out of the cookie jar. And I've been on record, and I told you guys this.
Yeah,
because because this is the thing about a billionaire. Do I really think that Vince let things? This is the thing about billionaires. We've seen this, Drew. Think about the pattern. In the early '90s, the WB was a gimmick. Vince turned it on during the Attitude Era. He turned it on. He turned it on during the Ruthless Aggression. But then when his wife was trying to get elected, he turned it off. I think I told you guys this on a group chat, and I've said this publicly. Vince McMahon is a shrewd operator. He can be great when he wants to, but I think he screws with the fans because guess why? He can, because he knows he's the WWE. He can sell $999 belts on his website that sell out. Come on, man. He sells Elite Series titles for $1,600 that sells out. Vince McMahon is a shrewd operator, and he can pretty much do whatever he wants at any time. He can be great when he wants to, and he can just stink it up because he knows that the product is not going anywhere, Drew.
Yeah, I mean, you do have a good point there.
It's sad to say, man, and it shouldn't be like that. It shouldn't be like that. But you know what he does? He baits these companies like AEW to get better and get it better. Remember back in the day what he did with TNA? Remember when TNA went to Monday nights? He baited them, and then they started doing all this really good work. AEW, they came in, started doing really good work. All of a sudden, oh, wow, WWE's getting good again all of a sudden? What's going on with this? Vince knows what he's doing, man. Vince ain't stupid. There's a reason he bought everybody out, and he bought WCW. There's a reason.
Do you think he bought him out in the manner of this?
I'll put it to you like this. That invasion, if it had been done a lot better, would have just been epic. But you got to remember who they got over in the deal with Chris Benoit. I know people say that's an outlaw name, but listen, plenty of people have done really bad, horrible things in life, but we just have to acknowledge. He was a great. Some other big names came over from WCW, etc. So I don't know. This is one of those things.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see how things pan out there at WrestleMania. I feel like Cody Rhodes does need to defeat Roman Reigns to validate his story. Rob disagrees. Let us know there in the comments, guys, what you think so far with that comment in the bonus round. We'll have one more round to go to. Let's go ahead and take it there for the final round.
Final round.
Here for the final round of the DC Defenders versus the St. Louis Battlehawks. Week 3 matchup will be the best game of the 2023 XFL season. How do you feel about this one, Rob? Do you agree with the statement at hand? Are you in?
Out.
He is out.
All right, let me premise this for everybody to understand. All right, so the DC Defenders are a very good football team. They have not thrown a touchdown pass so far this season. Tamu and De'Aaron King, who should be your starter, give De'Aaron King the opportunity to throw the football, and I guarantee you he'll be able to do it. He's not just a gadget player. De'Aaron King can really play. Now, I believe they have like maybe 2 or 3 guys in the top 10 for rushing. Their defense is pretty stout so far here in the XFL season. Now, Drew, here are their games, of course. You have St. Louis, you have Vegas, and then they're at St. Louis. I'll say this, Drew. A.J. McCarron has been playing his butt off. He's been showing a lot of heart this season. Prohl, son of Ricky Prohl, who made the famous catch for the St. Louis Rams at the time. He's been playing really good football. But I think, in my opinion, see, you look at a team like Vegas, they've given up leads. Rod Woods is the head coach. They played really hard in week 1 against Arlington, but they lost 22-20. They lost last week. I think that the Defenders can beat St. Louis. They have Vegas at home, and then I believe they can beat St. Louis as well, because I just think St. Louis is due. I think that St. Louis can be had, especially if you allow them to play good in the back part of the game, you're going to have an issue. But I believe the Defenders' defense is good, and I believe Derek King will get an opportunity to show what he can do more in the passing game. However, Drew, my game of the year, and if you go back, Drew, who is the one undefeated team from the last XFL season before it got shut down?
I'm drawing a blank. That's a good question.
That'd be the Houston Roughnecks.
Yes,
they are now.
You're right.
They are now undefeated, and they would have won the championship, and they are poised to win the championship this year. They will be 7. They are now 7-0, going into their game against the DC Defenders, which is going to be on March 27th. They would have played to that point. San Antonio is a really good. They're a good team, Drew. San Antonio's good, but they can be had. There are ways to beat them. We saw that when St. Louis went there, but that's a tough place to play. Orlando and Seattle, 2 teams that Orlando's not good. Seattle has talent with Josh Gordon at wide receiver, but they're not stout. My game of the year, Drew, is week 6 on FX, 7 p.m., Monday Night Football. Potentially, a 5-0 Houston Roughnecks team walks into DC on Monday Night Football. I think that game could change the landscape and make the XFL a marquee game if the XFL promotes it right. So again, that's week 6. The DC Defenders are at home against the best team in the league, the Houston Roughnecks, potential undefeated teams.
March
and
27th,
DC,
yep.
March 27th, week 6, 7 p.m. on FX. It's the only game in town. It's Monday Night Football.
It's the only Monday night game of the year, it looks like.
Yeah.
It looks like it's which. And my question is, why are they going head-to-head with Monday Night Raw then? Because even though it starts at 7, you're still going to be going head-to-head with Raw for like 2 of their 3 hours.
Well, see, at least that's the thing. They didn't start at 8 o'clock. So you did it at 7. You get the rating. If the game is interesting enough, then it can carry over. So, football's football, and it's DC. And we've seen it. Those DC Defender fans are very passionate. So the thing is that if they go in undefeated, if they can stay undefeated and not go on some crazy loser streak, as I was telling you about marketing earlier with Major League Baseball, De'Aaron King can be that signature player that they could market because he is exciting. And imagine him going in against the Houston Roughnecks, the 5-0 Houston Roughnecks, who have not lost a game in league history, not just this season, league history, and have proven to be dominant. Just like in the USL, like the way Birmingham was dominant, this is a dominant team in this league. So De'Aaron King, his ability to run and throw, those crazy fans, who knows? You could get some Commander players showing up. You could get some ex-players from other teams showing up. This could be the marquee game that could change the league forever.
So before I give my take, you're saying that DC Defenders and the Houston Roughnecks will be undefeated by week 6, and that will be another undefeated matchup that the Defenders will have this year.
They should be. Now,
okay.
Like I said, mind you, everyone, if you have not seen St. Louis play at home, their fans go crazy. Their fans in St. Louis are just like the fans for the DC Defenders. This lets you know that we know our stuff, that we actually watch the games, and that we actually have given you guys.
But their game
analysis.
last week was a road game. That Thursday night game was a road game for St. Louis. They won.
Yeah. No, I'm talking about go back to 2019, 2020. Go back to 2020 when they were playing in the Dome at home, and look how crazy those fans were. St. Louis.
This one's in DC though, isn't it? This one's in DC on Sunday.
No. What I'm saying is, yes, I'm saying they're playing in St. Louis this weekend. They're playing DC this weekend. Then they play again next week against Vegas, DC. But they got to go to St. Louis before the Monday night game. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So what I'm saying is that the issue for the defenders could be, and I was gonna possibly put that St. Louis game because that's gonna be a hyped up game, but it all is contingent. If they beat St. Louis at St. Louis, which is gonna be a tough environment, AJ McCarron is pretty much made of steel right now. Drew, give me a second. I encourage anybody, please watch St. Louis play football. AJ McCarron he's the truth right now, and the guy has been getting his butt beat down, but he stays in games. They've had some great comebacks. But when you beat Seattle, who's over right now, when they had their comeback in week 1, I just think Washington is so much of a better team. I think we get the clash of the Titans, and I think that week 6 game we get 2 undefeated teams. And if DC were to beat the Houston Roughnecks, Drew, like I said, that would change the landscape of this league forever.
Well, Rob has a great take on that, thinking that there'll be 2 undefeated 5-0 teams going into week 6 to face each other. But on that note, I have to disagree on this one. I am in. And I'm in for the sole reason of this. This could potentially be the last matchup of 2 undefeated teams. We have 2 teams that are playing each other that have had 2 wins this season that have been monumental wins. St. Louis, the Battlehawks, led by A.J. McCarron. It looked like a stellar team, just like what you just said with Ricky Proehl's son, Austin Proehl, as his wide receiver there for St. Louis. The DC Defenders, with the 2-quarterback system, and the whole lemons being thrown on the field, that situation that happened in week 1, and the fan fest behind it, I was digging it. I'm definitely a fan of the DC Defenders, and I love it. So when you have the St. Louis Battlehawks and you have the DC Defenders, who are one of the 2 best teams in the league. Now, of course, you have the Houston Roughnecks, who are still undefeated going back through the previous rendition of XFL 2.0. Yes, I have to tip the scale a little bit to them there, but I don't think that the Houston Roughnecks are going to be undefeated by week 6. And the DC Defenders might not even be undefeated by week 6. I think they're going to win this game against St. Louis Battlehawks, but they may not be undefeated. One of these 2 teams is going to have a loss going into that week 6 matchup. Excuse me. That week 6 matchup that I could see the Houston Roughnecks coming off of a loss the week before to the now defeated without a win Seattle Sea Dragons. They have to go to Seattle to play this team. You got Ben DiNucci in a home field. You got Josh Gordon in a state where he can smoke the lettuce freely and not have to worry about any problems because that's his wide receiver, and that's the one that got in trouble so many times in the NFL, but now can smoke the lettuce freely. Josh Lettuce. I called him Josh Lettuce. Josh Gordon can smoke the lettuce before his game. Go out there and ball out and full of lettuce. I've got the Gordon led with DiNucci St. Louis Dragons. Seattle Sea Dragons, my apologies. Coming through with the win. Now, you put it all in perspective, and you think about that. And the DC Defenders also have some matchups coming up before that, where they also have to play the St. Louis Battlehawks again within a 2-week period. They play them this Sunday, March 5th at 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. Then they have to play the Vegas Vipers the following Sunday at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. Then the following Saturday, they have to play the St. Louis Battlehawks again at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. They have to play the same team twice within 13 days. Within those 2 appearances against each other, I feel like they're going to split them. DC Defenders are going to win this week 3 matchup, and the St. Louis Battlehawks are going to come back for revenge in week 5. That is my take. Rob Johnson, that's how I feel on that. We agree to disagree to agree.
I just don't see how you have Houston losing to Seattle. I mean, Seattle, don't get me wrong, they're a good team, but Ben DiNucci, they're going to have to switch quarterbacks next year. He's not a good quarterback. I mean, he's been up and down. Look at Orlando. Orlando's poor. They're going to blow them out. San Antonio's tough, don't get me wrong, but Houston is just the creme de la creme of this league right now. So I don't see them losing. I think it's a good prediction. I think it's good to hope that, but I think that both teams are going to be undefeated coming in. And even if DC only has the 1 loss, which would be at St. Louis, in my opinion, that they'll still be a great game. I think that's the game, because it's Houston, and Houston is the best team in the league. And you got DC, you got Texas. They're historic rivals in other sports, football. Not as much anymore, especially after the name change in the NFL, but still pretty good rivals. So, I mean, hey, we'll see.
It's going to be interesting to see how that pans out for this week 3 matchup that we have coming up soon there, sir. And we definitely have gone through a bunch of great rounds in this episode. Before we get any further, we have to acknowledge the Vault of Fame where Robb is currently at within standing.
Acknowledge me.
And it's time to enshrine Robb into the Vault of Fame once again. Robb Johnson is now a 14-time Vault of Fame inductee with this episode 83 of the In or Out Sports Debate. You can check out the leaderboard right here, where Robb now ties for first place with Joey Raymond at the top of the leaderboard for 14 appearances on this show, followed by second place with 4 appearances with Darrell Owens, James Brown, Corey Mann, and P. Alexander Wally, followed by the third place with Brian H. Waters, Cody Stewart, Dwayne Allen, Kyle Nash, Michael Bish, the Snowman, Brian Snow, and Lamont Thomas with 3 appearances for the third place spot. And we have 7 panelists tied with 2 appearances apiece. Up next, we have the Sports Sensations Unleashed this Sunday at 5:05 p.m. Eastern Time on the Snowman Multimedia Network, as well as the newly announced episode 84 with Darrell Owens this Sunday at 9:05 p.m. Eastern here on the LegacyMaker Sports Network on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, as well as TikTok, and the latest in sports coverage at LegacyMakerSports.com. You can check out the In or Out Sports Debate on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and Twitch, as well as the audio platforms on the Apple and Google Podcast, Spotify, Amazon Prime, Anchor.fm, and you can download these episodes individually on iTunes. You can check out SIRTOBA Media on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. And the struggle is real to be awesome as well on SIRTOBA.com. You can check out myself, Drew Willingham, on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. The latest in video productions on SIRTOBA.com and the latest in sports coverage on LegacyMakerSports.com. If you want to throw a little tippy, some what Darrell calls Willie Bucks, throw a little 10 spot here at the cash.app /DWillie87 on Cash App. You want to throw a little tippy, if you please. We are back for episode 83, as we've got very little left to cover, as we have to get to the final word to see what we have left on our mind. Robb, let's go ahead and take it to the final word after we acknowledge the comments of the fans. My apologies. And here with the comments from the fans, Robb, let's see what they've got to say. As Mickey chimed in towards the end and said, "What in the blue hell is Ike trying to say? Ike, you just made the list." Well, okay, says Mickey. He just made the list. Nugs, not thugs, says Joey Raymond. How do you feel about that one?
I'm confused. No, because at the end of the day, no. At the end of the day, no. I mean, use proper English. They're not nugs. They're nuggets, and it's not good. It's not good marketing. It's like the other day, like you listen to one of the commercials together. They're like, they do all this fast talking, like they're on one of those infomercials trying to sound all fancy. No, it's not. They're promote food. We don't care about. I know you're trying to reach a younger demographic. Get you a 4-piece nug here at Wendy's. No,
in layman's terms,
it doesn't sound right.
In layman's terms, Robb's saying this.
You can't handle the truth.
It's like, I hate to, listen, man, Wendy's, and I can't complain. I can't really say that much because, sometimes I have fast food. I don't have as much as I used to, but Wendy's, McDonald's, Burger King, they're all body killers anyway. They're all killing us faster than fast. You ever seen one of those things where they took a hamburger and somebody saves for 20 years and it doesn't change? I worked at McDonald's when I was in college. Trust me. Just promote the food, make it a little healthier, promote some more salads because your nugs, your ham, your bugs, and whatever else, whatever I mean, it's stupid, Dre. It's stupid because I just called you Dre for some reason. It's stupid, Drew. It's stupid, Drew. I'm gonna tell you my pet peeve, and I'm going Peter Griffin here. You know what really grinds my gears when people say, and this second one is gonna be a little disgusting, so please bear with me. When people say vacay, say vacation. When I'm looking at the television and they're promoting medicine for if you have hep C, it's serious. It's hepatitis. Say the word. It's not something to make it sound cool. If you have hep C, stop making it sound cool. It's not cool. Say the whole freaking word. Yeah, I went there. Yeah, I'm not even playing. Seriously. I understand we're trying to reach the younger demographic, but we're already like 7,000 in education in this nation. Make education matter again. Education matters, folks. Being able to complete a sentence matters, folks. If I was at a lunch counter, if I was serving food and a kid said, "Hey man, can I have an 8-piece nug?" I would beat their ass and send them to their parents and tell them I beat their ass. Ridiculous, man. I'm serious, man. Like we need more discipline. And let me say this. This is why, and I know unrelated topic, I know we're supposed to get into fans. This is why I like Eric Bieniemy to the Washington Commanders, because he's not going to take the crap, and he's going to be, and he. That's why LaShawn McCoy has been so butthurt the last 2 weeks, because he was an overrated, barely can talk running back who's just mad at the world, because Philly released him because he was no longer the ish anymore. So yeah. Anyway.
Well, we got Rob fired up on the Nugs, not thugs. Keep the comments going there, fans. Darrell Owens says, "Let's go." Most definitely. Let's go with a yes. Darrell Owens back in the house. Yeah. Ike comes back with Wes was the best. Well, if Wes was the best, he wouldn't have been the recipient of this.
Robb kicked it. Looks like Boucher knocked him out cold.
And that's why Wes wasn't the best.
As Stewie said, that Down syndrome girl, we could not have had this episode today because we had a guy who was kind of, on the turtle side. Thank God for the 90s. Today, it would be scrutinized because the half turtle was able to play football and somehow pass college. That lets you know that there's cheating scandals in college football. Please don't cancel me for that. Please don't cancel me. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I was trying to use fruitful language. I said half turtle. I'm sorry. Okay. I'm sorry.
It was still nice. That was better of you. Please don't cancel us, internet. Steven says no, he wasn't. Ike talking about Wes wasn't the best. And basically, Steven just said this to
Would you please shut the hell up?
Absolutely. The promos are fire, Drew. Well, thank you for coming back with that because I appreciate that because I put a lot of work into those promos. So thank you there, Ike, for the kind words. I'll give you that there, Ike. Steven then comes back and says Cody loses. He is on board with Robb. When it comes to the next comment, no, he doesn't, Steve. Cody wins. Well, thank you. Even though everybody else up in here is saying this.
Hell to the no, to the no, 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 no. Hell no, to the no.
Trying my best out here in these streets, but nobody wants to agree with me except for one person. Next comment that we have here Tyrone Montgomery Jr. is in the house. Ty, thank you for being on here for the first time in quite some time with the comment. I appreciate you saying that this is fire because there are people out here that just want us to get better and do a great job out here, and we're just doing the best job we can to have fun, even though some people are in our faces screaming like this. And that's how I feel about that, Mr. Superfly Ty. Next comment we have. Week 3 will be the best week for all teams. How do you feel about this, Rob? Do you disagree with this, even though you disagree with the statement at hand? Do you think it's going to be the best week for all teams? Are you out on that one?
I don't know. I think it'll be a decent week. I mean, like I said, I mean, he said all teams, so that's not the XFL. So he said all teams. So no, it's gonna be some teams this week who played that suck. So no.
Absolutely. That's how we feel about that, Steven. No, it won't, because the coaches are too old. Ike comes back with that. That's a little bit brash there, Ike, talking about they're a little too old. I guess they aren't who we thought they were.
That's why we took the damn field. Now, if you want to crown them, then crown their ass. But they are who we thought they were, and we let them off the hook.
You even got the Wonder Bread choir laughing at you. Now put that in your pipe and smoke. Next comment. Ike comes back with Josh Lettuce laughing at my comment that I had earlier in the show. It was pretty good, Ike. I can't lie with that. I do have to say that was a mistake, but happened to be a good one. All right. Stephen Fenton comes back with that was great. D. Willie, well, thank you for chiming in there too there, Stephen. I do the best I can. All right. Then we get some laughing emojis from Stephen. Stephen keeps it going from the previous statement at hand. Then after that, for the final comment of the show, we have smoke lettuce and ball out.
Yeah, don't take that government marijuana. You're gonna die quicker.
Yeah, it could have something spiked up in there. But when I was talking about Josh Gordon's gonna come up there, aka Josh Lettuce, smoke lettuce and ball out, I might have been onto something there. We're just gonna have to see how that pans out. Well, thank you guys for the comments in this show. You guys have crushed it once again with the comments. Thank you for your participation. We've only got one thing to do before we get on out of here, and that is the final word. And Rob, out of everything we've discussed on this show with all 6 topics, or just anything in sports or entertainment that's bothering you on your mind in the final word, let it rip. What you got on your mind there, sir?
Why is everybody crying so much on social media now? Everybody's acting like a bunch of wussies. Like, I want to be this, I want to be that. Listen, folks, especially in the journalism industry, it's a hard industry, man. It is not easy to get into. I've been writing the same newspaper for 6 years, almost 5 or 6 years now. It's not easy, Journalism doesn't pay the way that we thought it paid when we were younger. You got to grind. You got to do shows like Drew's doing. You got to do stuff like I'm doing, like Darrell, like all the rest of the guys are doing LegacyMaker. And you got to work regular jobs sometimes. You got to grind.
Some of them, not all of them.
Huh?
Some of them, not all of them. But I see what you're saying.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, like you look at Stephen A. He had to grind for 20 years to get to where he is.
7 days a week.
Yeah, he had to grind and get to where he was. So it's like, I just think that social media has become the ultimate. Everybody talks about mental illness in sports. I mean, just in the world in general. And I think social media has a big part of it. Sometimes just get off of it for a day, because some of you are out there looking for attention. Some of you, some of you ain't nothing. Ain't not some of you. There's nothing even wrong with you. And I don't mean to be rude when I say that. Some of you, there's nothing wrong with you. You are just looking for attention. And the problem is, and the reason I'm saying like this is because I give my example of Ben Simmons. You know how during pandemic, mental health, mental health. Well, Ben Simmons had, legitimate mental health issues. But everybody in the sports world just dogs the guy, kills him. I thought mental health was important. Or was the agenda important? See, folks, in sports and life, there are agendas. And we are living in dangerous times, folks. Just remember Rob Johnson told you this. Get your house in order before 2030.
You know what? I'm going to actually piggyback on Rob's final word with my own, because Rob brings up some great points to that. And this is my thing too, okay? With what we're doing here. This is a show where we are on camera, having a show, a sports debate show. We're discussing sports. Is what this is developed for, right? We do it great here, and I could not do this without the panelists to come in here each and every episode, or without the fans that watch this. But I'm going to be 100% transparent with you, because with what Rob just said, it actually just sparked a fire in me. There are so many people out there, and you want to call yourself a photographer or a videographer out there in the field, and you're out there filming, or you're taking pictures, you're putting a watermark on them, and you're posting them to whatever affiliate you're with. But if you take just as much time to take selfies of yourself with that camera out there in the field, you're being more narcissistic than you actually are producing for the job, okay? If you want to shoot a whole highlight video of yourself holding a camera and advertise yourself, you're basically telling everybody else that you are bigger than the brand of what you're doing. What this show is, what Rob and I are doing right now on this show, it takes a lot more than us just showing up on camera and talking. There's a lot of work that gets put into here, into graphic making, advertising, production, having the platform that is given to me by the network that we work for to air this stuff on. But having dominoes set up in place, if you don't have your stuff set up right, they will fall. And it takes a lot of placement and a lot of articulated movement to make a production like this happen, to where it makes it look like it's an actual TV show. I've been there in the field with the camera, with the lenses, doing what Rob does, and Rob crushes it out there with the pictures, okay? Now, I'm not giving anybody a hard time that's going to sit out there and take pictures of somebody else who's actually out there doing work. But if you've got a camera in one hand and you've got a cell phone in another, taking a selfie of yourself, and you're uploading just as much digital content with your cell phone of yourself with your other camera, you're not doing a good service to what you're actually out there supposedly being paid to do, or volunteer to do, or whatever you gave your word you're supposed to be doing. You are out there to cover an event, not yourself. So with what Rob just said, just lit a fire under me, because you can say whatever you want about one part of the game or the other. And it might take just more work in this game than it does for that one. But you need to respect the game that you're in and know your role and stay within your limits. And that is my final word.
And the thing is, am I muted? And the thing is, what everybody has to understand, this is not me criticizing anybody. I'm not talking to anybody specific, because if I was talking to anybody specific, I would say your name, because I'm a big
It's
name.
happening everywhere. I'm not saying
it's happening everywhere.
It's happening in so many different areas.
And the sad part is, and like I said, it's nothing against anybody. This is just a general observation. What people have to understand is that in this game, in life, I think one thing that COVID did was it made people think that the world cared about them. It put them in a sense, a false sense of hope. It put them in a place. COVID put people in a place where they thought that this government and this world really cared about you. You have I'm just gonna go here tonight, because one thing about me, when I get serious, I'm serious. You have government putting things in communities where they don't really give a damn about in the first place, because they're outsourcing them in the first place. and sending them to the country, which is send them all around the country or wherever. You have people out there. When COVID happened, guys, I broke my neck in December 23rd. Worst night of my life. December 23rd, 2019, broke my neck. Fast forward 3 months later, we got COVID. I knew I had to grind even harder, so I started working more, etc. Folks, and like I said, in this media business and just overall in the world, I knew that the world was changing. There is a thing called the Great Reset, folks. And I know I'm getting a little political here. I know people are, oh my God, just listen to me. The world has reset, whether you know it or not. Currency has reset. Look at the price of food. Look at the price of everything. And we all are out here grinding. We're all out here struggling. So we get it, folks. People go through hard times. We get it. And I know personally some people who go through some real depression issues, and their stuff never gets really taken care of because we're worried about so many other bullcrap things. Stop playing wolf with mental health. It's not funny. Because I know some people who are really dealing with it. Within my circle, etc. I know people dealing with all types of crap. Stop using mental health. Stop using other bad certain things for attention. Because, folks, there are people out here that are truly suffering who will never get the attention they truly deserve.
Like, basically, stop with the excuses.
And it pisses me off. Stop the excuses. Because, folks, if I can, especially with my health and stuff and everything I'm going through, I'd be doing what? I do 80 hours sometimes a week, even more sometimes, still get on here. Drew, man was carrying around refrigerators. You know how hard it is to carry around a refrigerator? Do you know how much pain it takes? Do you know what our team, the stuff that our team does, type of jobs our team has, but people still get on here and do work? So stop getting on social media with their pity parties and getting attention, because it's only going to make you look like a fool in the end. Just do your job, get it done, move on. Because here's the sad reality. No one gives a damn about your problems. Yeah. I had to learn this as a teenager. Nobody cares about your problems. People only care about results, folks.
Yeah, Rob, when Rob and I started this show, I was carrying fridges, and now I've moved up 2 positions and starting a new job next week in that time frame. So it all takes, you have to be disciplined, you have to be organized, you have to have goals. And, you know, as much as we all want to turn this into a full-time career, you have to be true to yourself and have to be real, and you have to be really organized on top of that at the same time. So when you put all that in perspective, basically with what Rob was saying there and with what I'm saying here, I just don't like somebody fake. And that's why I love this show here, because we get to have a rotation of different people every single episode, and we get to see different things from different people's point of views. And this show isn't about the whole pick up the phone and selfie look at me. I mean, the praise is cool. Don't get me wrong. I appreciate it. I just love the feedback more from people based on the productions and what they see and their entertainment value from that. And that stems from things that have more to do with this than just me. Okay. It has things to do with who's in the show or whatnot, because I present this to my guests as this is their WrestleMania moment or their Super Bowl moment. This is their moment. It irritates me when we have narcissistic people out there who take our platform of sports journalism or photography or whatever it is. And I'm not saying anybody specific or anybody in a direct group. I'm saying this is going on in multiple things. And then they want to cry about it when they're not getting the attention that they want. Okay? So that's a completely different story for a different day. But with what Rob said with his final word, it kind of sparked that within me to kind of go down that direction. And that's why we have had the final word that we have had. Guys, we have had one hell of a show going for nearly 1 hour and 45 minutes. Rob, we've killed it with the time that we've had tonight. Thank you for taking the time to come back home, brother, as you are now a 14-time Vault of Fame inductee. We've only got one more thing left to do before we get on out of here. I got to acknowledge the Ram Talk with Rob Johnson has been great seeing that. That has been something that you've had, within the past, time frame that you've had going on for multiple seasons. And now that the season's coming to a close, do you have any updates on when the next Ram Talk with Robb Johnson will be?
I would probably say between tomorrow and Friday, now that I'm not going to SmackDown. So I would probably say Friday night, and then I'll probably have a RJ Sports Lounge episode 12 tomorrow around maybe I got paper deliveries in the morning. Yes, folks, I have 20,000 jobs. So probably tomorrow I'll have RJ Sports Lounge maybe around 10 o'clock tomorrow night, so I can give myself some time, and then Ram Talk same time, 10 o'clock Friday night.
Guys, you can find that here on these platforms here on Facebook primarily, but as well as YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn for your latest coverage for Robb's Ram Talk situation. Guys, we have one more thing left to look at besides Robb looking exhausted and battling it out hard for this episode under the weather. I appreciate you again. We only have one more thing to look at, and that is one badass outro from a guy, Robb Johnson, right here, who's barely with us, but he is here, I promise. I am Drew Willingham. Everybody stay safe out there in these streets.